Hello. Thanks everyone for coming. I'm really happy to be here. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the product-oriented model and how we can drive growth out of it. Mostly how you can structure your teams so they can respond to fast changes, right? I hope that we can address for those that never heard of it, what it is about. And for the ones that are very used to this, we can revisit the principles and see if we are on track. Okay, so those are the topics that we're going to cover. First, we're going to talk a little bit about what it is the reality of shipping digital products, new features, so on and so forth. I also talk about how over time we develop this into the organizations, what could be the pitfalls, right? And then dive into the product operating model, showing what are the principles that we need to look for and how most companies are implementing this, right? I also talk a little bit about how to leverage your game to use this on the favor of your company growth, right? And I'm going to try to save around 5 minutes at the end so you can ask questions. Okay? All right, so who am I? I'm the tech guy. I'm very much into technology. I started programming when I was 15 years old. So living in a dungeon like the IT crowd is very familiar to me. But okay, so got into my career. I started as a developer, moving up into architecture position, then leading engineering teams, so on and so forth. But over my entire career, I could see that as much as I cherish my technical background, and I'm always focusing on these little tech puzzles that are so interesting to me, I could realize that I was only effective at my job is if I was very much in line with business and trying to solve problems for our customers, our consumers, right? And today, I'm very grateful to be here to talking to people that is very much focused on business and how we serve our customers, because I can talk about how I feel that it works better, this collaboration and relationship between tech business. Cool, so let's do a reality check here, right? So I like your help and ask you guys, what do you think is success rate for product launches, digital product launches, new features? Right? So, yeah, how many of you think that out of 10, 9 launches are successful? Please raise your hands. Okay, you guys don't trust your success, right? But that's good. All right, how many of you think it's 7 out of 10 that works? No trust yet. Okay, good. 50-50. Who thinks it's 50-50? Okay, some people in the back. Good. Nice. All right. 3. Wow, that's good. That's a good audience because you know what you're talking about, right? Okay, yeah. This is the reality, right? So this is backed up by data from cases that we see in many different companies, right? And this could be a shock for many people, that only 3 out of 10, sometimes 2, new launches, new features are actually successful. But we need to deal with this reality. We need to face the facts, right? But Also, for me, this is good because this puts us into this humble position, right? It requires humility to accept that and to do something about it, right? But you can imagine also that anything that you do to respond to this harsh reality requires a lot of cultural change, right? Especially in some industries that are here for 1 century or more. Right? Okay. So, yeah, most things fail. This is the reality, right? And that's okay. We just need to do something about this. As I said before, this is mainly backed up by data. We can see that Booking.com released a case study a few years ago showing that from 10 to 20% of their experiments actually drive any growth or reaches any success. Microsoft and Amazon, only 1/3 of the experiments have a clear impact. Some of them even are drawbacks, right? So the key point here is that we cannot afford to waste time and money building the wrong things, right? So this is the biggest waste. So if you're spending months, years to drive a new product, and at the end you put that in your hands of your customers and you don't see any impact, this is a big waste, right? Okay, so especially for many manufacturers in old companies, traditional companies, they see this effect happen a lot. And I think that we can look at this as a cautionary tale on how this could work on your companies as well. All right, so if your company is just shipping new features, new products, new digital products for the sake of it, and trying to please the hippo in the room, right, which is the highest paid person opinion, that can drive you into a lot of different problems, right? And I think that some of you can also relate to that. That happens best companies. Right. So if you think that you could be in a feature factory, you should look for those signals, right? So if you have always large projects on your pipelines, if you have endless backlogs or a lot of requirements or a lot of people that you have to manage, when you do your launches, they are very expensive, right? And most importantly, you don't validate if your digital product is successful. Right? So again, so when you spend 3 years, 2 years in a project, and at the end you see no impact, this is huge waste. Okay, so how to try to solve this, right? So what many companies are doing is gathering and organizing the teams into cross-functional teams that are gonna pair up or build up with business, product, and engineering together to drive customer delight. So they want to work together to build digital products that your customers love, right? Okay, so and how does it work? How we can achieve that? You need to start with strategy, figuring out what your company strategy, but I don't need to tell you guys that. You all know this. What is most important is to define what are the outcomes you want from those digital products, right? So, and let the results on those outcomes drive your priority rather than people's opinions, right? Focus on your customer feedback and insights. This is the most valuable material you have to build or to succeed, to build products that your customers love, right? And in order to do that, you need empowered teams that when they look at those insights, they can quickly do something about it. Not asking a bunch of people, not asking the CEO, right? But they can respond to this fast change, right? And everyone from every team, for all the teams, should be looking at customer value as their main goal, right? Sorry. And if you embark in this journey on trying to implement such an operating model, don't do that because you see this as a trend, right? So what we're trying to do here is to really fix a real problem, which is that when you have these big projects, when you have this endless list of features that your stakeholders want, very often what happens is that you lock budget and resources early for that. And you can think this as inventory, right? So you're building up on inventory, right? And in the end, if the outcome of the result is not successful, you have twice the waste. You have the waste with the inventory, and you have the waste with driving no results, right? So it's a big risk on your investment. So with the product operating model, what you do is that you allocate the funding and the resources on those digital products that are bringing results, that are driving the outcomes that you want, right? And that also ensures that they generate the greatest impact, right? And because they promote this efficiency and agility. Cool. So, but how do you measure success? I think that you need to first ask this question, right? Are we measuring the outputs, the features that we're shipping, or we are measuring the outcomes, the business growth, right? And then for that, you can look into defining your KPIs wisely. Here, I have here some examples. For example, in some e-commerce companies that are selling goods like Amazon, for example, they could focus their KPIs into conversion rates, right? So if you are Meta, you look into engagement. If you are Netflix, you can look into retention. But you need to break this problem down into your team, right? So divide and conquer. So on the team level, you can find the KPIs that your teams are obsessed about. So a checkout team can be really obsessed about reducing the time to checkout to make it the seamless possible, right? The teams on the upper funnel, they can look into presenting the product that your customer is looking for as soon as possible as well. All right, so you need those teams that are empowered and that they are looking into what's most important for solving their piece of the puzzle. All right, so your biggest takeaway here is that if you're not measuring success, you are just shipping features for the sake of it. So be very mindful about your KPIs, because those are the North Stars that is going to drive your success. Right? Okay, but then how to implement this, right? So you know already the principles. You know that looking at the metrics and KPIs, you can drive the growth that you want using your digital products. But very often, and you guys can also tell me if that happens to you, but when we discuss this internally within your company, you have some colleagues that could say to you, oh, but we're not a tech company. We don't have to organize like this so modern or anything like this. There is always this debate, right? So how far we can get into this more digital organization, right? But the question is, today, can we afford not being a tech company? Because Mark Ederson said years ago that software is in the world. This is becoming even more critical right now with AI. AI is also eating the world. So can we really afford not being a tech company? I think that we can see also in the big players that went out the market because they didn't realize that they need to go digital. And we can see also that the companies that are growing the most, they are very much digital. They are very much into tech, right? So yeah, my suggestion to you is that, okay, ask yourself this question. Think about what is your competitive advantage, and use tech as your main asset to be successful. Okay, then you're convinced, right? So I want to have those empowered teams that are going to drive growth, that are gonna be obsessed about those KPIs and bring our value to our customers. How do I do that? Right? There are many ways to do this. I'm not preaching here any recipe or anything like this. I would just talk a little bit about some principles that I think that you should follow, right? Okay, so when you're building your teams, think about the principles for fast flow. First of all, make sure that your team is cross-functional and has all the functions necessary to deliver that value to our customer, right? They should be small because you also don't want to have endless conversations or connect to a lot of people all the time. So you need a concise, small team that can communicate really well, that they are autonomous, they can do something about this, and that they have clear mission. They know what is the value that they want to bring to your customer, right? Continuous and short feedback loops, right? So you don't want to spend 6 months, 1 year until you just building inventory until you have some insights from your customers, right? Obsess on the customer delight. So if your customer is struggling on any part of your customer journey, think about this as your priority, right? So you want everyone to have a good feeling about using your product, dealing with your product, right? And the whole team should look into that. That's what I was telling in the beginning, right? Even the most techy people, if they are not looking for the problem they are solving, they're not looking for bringing customer delight, they are not effective. Okay, so in the past few years, I've been using the framework, the team topologies. I think it's Michael Skelton and Manuel Pais that wrote a book, and now they have a consultancy, but they have this very straightforward framework for you to design your teams. So the first one, the first team type is streamlined. That should be 80% of your team. So tech, business, and product, right? That are gonna be delivering on one piece of your customer journey or one specific problem that they're solving, right? And then they have everything to deliver in that pillar with less dependencies possible. You also can have enabling teams. So those are teams that can build capabilities across the board. So, for example, you can have a team that is specialized in experimentation. They come to the Streamline teams and they make your Streamline teams to do better experiments. Could be with AI, right? How to implement AI on your teams. Also, we have the platform teams. Those are the teams that support the Streamline team so they can work more efficiently, better. Those are teams that deal with tooling, services, infrastructure that helps your team to work better. And last but not least is the complex subsystems. When you have a complex tech ecosystem, sometimes you have very specific systems like financials or ERP that you need very specialized technical knowledge, right? So therefore, you can have those teams encapsulated in a way that they can provide those complex subsystems as a service to the rest of the organization. Okay, so wrapping up, what is the message that I'm trying to convey here is that it's not easy to organize a company in any stage, startup, scale up, big corporates, right? It's always the biggest challenge. Technology very often is not the challenge, right? But to get to know your customer sometimes is not very hard. But to organize your company to respond to those challenges, respond to change, fail fast, and achieve your success is really hard. So I think that this is a good tool to try and succeed. So what I would like you to take from this talk is that, first of all, look at the signs, see if your company is a feature factory, right? Let strategy and data drive your roadmap, drive your decisions, rather than people's opinions. No one knows everything. In this case, with digital products, sometimes you can say that no one knows anything. So you need to optimize your company for learning, right? Define clear KPIs so you can know where you're going, because it's like walking in the dark. So you need to have signs you can touch to drive your way, right? And organize for fast flow, especially in this market right now, right? That there's a lot of uncertainties. If you're not very wise and smart about your investment, the chances are that you're gonna struggle, right? So organize for fast feedback loops. Make sure that your teams has the little amount of blockers, little amount of dependencies on that for them to deliver the value. Okay, I think that we arrived. We have time. So if you guys have any questions, I can take them. Thank you much for coming. Thank my friends from CNA. I really appreciate that you're coming today.
Hi. Thanks for the great presentation. I'm trying to think through how the insights you provided apply in the world of companies employing no employees, fully staffed by agentic AIs.
That's a good question, right? I think that we're going to figure it out soon enough. I think that in principle, it will apply totally, because in the end, what you want to do is understand how your customer responds to your digital product, right? But how you gonna translate this into using agents, AI agents, can be very different, right? I'm just thinking while I'm saying here, right? No, but this is a very good question. It's putting me to think. I think that in principle not, but I can imagine. For example, if you are using agents to collect data insights, to do customer research, right? So how many of them you're going to deploy into one of the pillars? That can change drastically. I think that we're going to have to explore more, right? But yeah, what I said that we have to learn a lot yet.
Very futuristic but valid question. I just read today there are companies now where the CEO is an AI agent. So you probably have known that. I just learned about this today in the newspaper. But second question was over here. Thank you.
Hi. You mentioned that each team should have its own KPIs. For example, checkout would like to reduce the time to payment. Mm-hmm. But how do you overcome then the clash of KPIs between two teams? Because, for example, a PDP team would like customers to spend more time within the funnel and then later on go to the checkout so that they can explore product description, sizing, whatsoever. Yeah. But this is basically going against the checkout team.
Yes, no, this is a very good question because that happens a lot, especially in big companies, big scale-ups. That because when every team is autonomous and they try to find their own mission, very often what they say, oh, my KPI is going to be conversion. So in Amazon, everyone is going to have conversion, right? So you need to find one that is specific for the problem that you're solving. And in this case, we need more coordination. So we need a head of product that's going to be looking across the board and making sure that we're not overlapping too much, right? And in those cases, sometimes when we are, especially in startup scale up, oh, I don't want this traditional hierarchical organization. But you need to somehow address this problem, as I said. And what most companies have, they have those servant leaders that are looking into the customer journey and making sure that we're not overlapping and that we're covering the entire journey.
Thank you very much. We have time for one last question. Yes, over there.
Okay, so my question has to do with innovation. How do you balance that? And because I understand the be sensible approach to the value of the customer, but how do you strike a balance there? Because, for example, in fashion sector, you see a big growth of a trend of having user-generated content to promote all the products, etc. How do you strike a balance between what is relevant for the business without being and not excluding yourself of trends? How do you look at those?
Sure. This is a complex question as well. Thanks for flying from Portugal, by the way. Well, there are two ways to do this. As you said, on the business part, when you're trying to really get to know what is the problem that you're solving, sometimes you need many iterations until you really break down your problems and you know that you have one team responsible for that part. So I would say investing on learning. And there's a second part is that on the technical side, if the teams are too autonomous or free, they can come up with a very complex tech stack for you to manage. With that, you solve with the platform teams. Because if it's easy to use a technology, everyone's going to use that, right? So when you bring service and you're helping the tech teams, they tend to use the most widespread technology that you have. Then that limits your complexity.